Hi, I'm Jody Hand, Mrs. Hand Painted, and in today's video I'll be doing a Father's Day card. I wanted to try out a card that was a little bit more grown up than the handprints and other paintings that you might do with your kids. So if you are a little older and you want to do more of a grown-up card for your dad, this would be a perfect card to do. I'm doing some evergreen trees and a little tree line, and I'm using a specialty brush today. This is a 1/4 inch dagger brush from Princeton, and it's their Neptune series. It's a very thirsty synthetic squirrel haired brush. And I really like dagger brushes for the versatility and doing different things. They're not just for grasses, but you can also do these trees. And I'll show you how you can use this brush for more than just grasses. And if you don't have a dagger brush in your collection, I highly recommend purchasing one. I really do like this Neptune one, but there are others out there as well. In some of my other videos, I've used a Princeton Velvet Touch 1/4 inch dagger striper, which is a little bit smaller. And I'll show you in this video just a comparison of those very quickly. If you don't have one and you want to still paint these, you can also use a round brush to paint the trees or whatever brushes that you prefer. But I do recommend trying out this dagger brush. It's a really great to try and do a little bit different technique with your trees. For this card, I'm going to be using these Strathmore watercolor cards. These are 5x7 cards when they're folded. Got the nice score line for you already. They're an alpha cellulose based paper, so keep that in mind. They're not the greatest for doing landscapes on, but they're perfect for these just little small paintings for cards. I'm going to be using a new brush I just got, the Princeton Neptune 1/4 inch dagger brush. And this is just a different technique to try to make trees with. If you don't have one of these brushes, just use whatever brush you feel comfortable with. You can just use a smaller round brush. Or whatever brush that you prefer to make your trees with. But this is a fun technique to learn using a different type of brush if you have one of these specialty brushes. And if you don't have one, I highly recommend it. I have another class I did on beach grasses you can check out here on my YouTube channel. This is a really versatile brush that you can make really thin strokes for grasses, fur textures. You can make trees with it. We'll show you here in this video today. The other supplies I'm going to be using is this Prima Marketing. It's Art Philosophy now. I've had this for a little while. This is the terrain set, and it's got some really nice greens in here. And I'll probably use this blue and that color Sassafras to mix up a couple more variations of green. So we're just going to do a bunch of different green trees. And I did do a little sample one. I did this one actually with the Woodlands palette, and I mixed the greens, but I wasn't as happy with it. I wanted a little more variation, and I wasn't very happy with my handwriting, so I may try to actually just trace a font that I've done several times before in many of my videos. I can show you how to do that. And or if you have some really nice handwriting that you're happy with, by all means do your own lettering. Alright, so I want to do some trees coming off of the bottom edge. And I'm just going to start using some of these different greens here, and we can mix in a little bit of blue and this sassafras color just to give us some variations. And I think I'm going to use mainly this vine leaf, which is the 123, and this balsam. Those should be nice. I'll start out with the vine leaf one. And you can do all of them in the same color. However, I like to do some variation that shows a little bit more depth. But since this is a card, we're not going to get too detailed because we want it to be fairly simple. Cards shouldn't take you an hour to paint. It should be a very quick painting. Alright, so to start the first tree, I'm holding my brush at an angle so that the tip is at the bottom. And I'm going to sweep up in a straight motion. I'm going to keep it, you can go straight up like this if you really want it thin, but I'm just doing the center to build my branches off of. And just maybe go up about halfway, maybe a little bit more. So to do this technique with this type of brush for these evergreen trees, I'm going to start with just your tip and turn the brush on its side so that this long side is toward you. And you can just start varying the angle and just dabbing the brush down. And you can add more pressure to get a thicker branch, and just kind of go a tiny bit different angles, maybe angle it more downward for those branches. And I'm just really just dabbing it down at that angle. This just gives you a different look than if you used a round brush. And I really like using this type of brush for these kind of trees. Just, I feel it gives you, just like I said, it's just a different look, and I really like the way that it turns out. I think I want to go up a little higher here. I got a little too wide to start out. There, that looks better. And as I get toward the bottom, I'll just make sure I kind of go off of the edge here. Alright, so the next one, I want to just vary up my color a little bit, so maybe I'll mix in a little bit of this blue. And then I'll vary up the heights. This time I'll go from the top down. And you can go this way or this way, but just make sure you're holding it at that angle like this, and then doing a nice light pressure so that you don't get it too thick. Because this is just a guide for the trunk, mostly just covering it up. I mean, you can still see it through there, but it kind of just gives you the trunk. I'm just dabbing down the color. And what I've noticed with these Neptune series brushes, they are very thirsty brushes, so you don't have to load your brush as often. I have from Princeton, I've used in several of my other videos, I have the Velvet Touch series brushes. I have a lot of those, and I have a 1/4" Dagger from that. And here I'll show you the comparison. So this, the 1/4" Dagger striper that they have, I'm not sure if they have a difference between Dagger and Dagger striper, but this is a very small, very fine point. It's really good for grasses. I like this one a lot, and I will still use it a lot. This is a little bit different, and I really like this for the foliage of a tree like this because it is a thirsty brush and it holds a lot of pigment and water, so that I'm able to do almost the entire tree before having to reload my brush, which is really nice. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull some of this balsam for the next one, and I think I'll go a little bit shorter with this one. And if you wanted, you could do some other small ones. Here, we'll do another one right in here. We'll just kind of let that blend together. This one could be in the foreground, and just let it all kind of bleed together. That's fine. It would be a really nice look. All right, so I'm turning my brush at an angle here with the long side toward me. I'm just dabbing those branches in and just varying up the width, the length. All right, I'm going to go back to that vine leaf color. And this time, I think I'll add in some of this sassafras color. We'll see what that does. Ooh, that gives me a really pretty olive yellow green. Alright. And because I want my sentiment to be right across the middle here, I'll kind of just do maybe taller trees out toward the edges here. I really like doing these various shades of green. It really adds a lot of interest here. And while there are several greens in here, you can really use whatever you have and just mix up varying shades of green. But this is a nice little palette for doing quick little projects like this. You don't have to get a lot of supplies out. Pretty portable as well. I will note that with these watercolor cards, because it's an alpha cellulose based paper, the water absorbs differently. So you see it kind of pulls up. You do get a lot more of the blooms with this type of paper. It doesn't absorb into the paper like your cotton based papers do. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. And like I said, these are very thirsty brushes, so you don't want to get too much water. Make sure that you're not, like here, this is all just, it takes so much practice to get this perfect. Here I've got quite a bit of water ponding up, so I want to make sure that I don't tip that paper up and have it all puddle down. Alright, I'm going to go back to just the plain vine leaf color here for the next one. I'm just varying this up here. Do a little bit shorter one, and I'll have that come maybe a little closer even to this. Kind of let those bleed together. I have another class that I did. It's the diamond shape. If you look on my YouTube playlist there, you can see I did a misty forest. I wouldn't recommend doing that type of a technique with the misty background of these cards, just because, like I said, it's alpha cellulose based paper and the water doesn't absorb as nicely. And I feel like if you're going to do a whole wash across your paper, you really should use a cotton based paper for that, because it works so much nicer. All right, we'll get that vine leaf. And I'll go back to this blue. Well, here I can already see how bulged out that is. I'm actually going to just scrape off over there. I had a whole big drip come off of there. And even after doing that, I still have quite a lot of water in the brush. No, and the colors bleeding together is a really nice effect as well. I like that. I'll just go back to that vine leaf color again. Make this one go up a little higher. Doing cards like this, it is actually really nice practice for when you're wanting to add some of these type of elements into a larger painting. So doing small little paintings like this of the same subject matter is a really good practice for when you're wanting to do landscapes later. So by practicing all of your trees, you can get a lot of good practice in just by doing little cards with these little elements. I'm getting a little bit too horizontal. I'm going to start angling some of these downward a little bit more. Make it a little more natural looking. All right, I think I have enough room for maybe one more, and I think I'll maybe, we'll go back for this balsam color. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of blue to that. Ooh, that got very turquoise. I don't like that at all. There, I'll add a little bit of that sassafras to it. It'll give me a completely different color. Really, to change up the angle here, you just have to just turn your brush at an angle like this so that you can get different angles of your branches. I'm just going to carry some of that pigment up a little higher. Alright, I'm going to dry my brush off. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, and I'm going to look for a nice font to print off Happy Father's Day for that, and come right back here and we can trace that with a light pad or your window. Alright, so I've just gone in my Microsoft Word, and I have a whole collection of fonts that I've got because I do a lot of scrapbooking in my Cricut, and I had one, it's called Cookies and Milk. I'm pretty sure I got it from a site like 1001 Free Fonts or defont.com. So there's lots of free font websites. You can just do a Google search and just pick your favorite font. I like this one, and I decided to do all lowercase. And I've got an LED light pad here that I don't have plugged in. There, I didn't have that quite all the way in there. I printed this up in 60-point font, and I'm using an LED light pad. I'm usually painting at night, so I don't always have a sunny window to use. And I am just going to use, I've got, this is a Tombow dual brush pen, and I'm just using the black, the N15. And I'm using my LED light pad just so that I can see through, and I'm just going to center that over the middle of my card as best I can, just kind of eyeball it. I'm actually going to turn my lights down just a little bit here so I can see that a little better. I'm not sure if you can see that through in the video, but here I've got my sentiment here. I'm just going to line that up where I want that. Now this is a nice little trick that I use because I'm not always happy with my handwriting. I feel like I have nice handwriting just when I'm writing things, but when I want to make it bigger, it doesn't turn out the way I want, and I'm not that great at brush lettering yet. So this is my little hack or trick that I use. I just take a font that I like and I trace it. And if you wanted to do this in watercolor, maybe pick more of a brush style font, but I thought that this was a little more masculine. Just doing a basic font that's not too curvy. It's also quite an easy font to trace, so not too fancy, I guess is the term I'm looking for. There we go. Now all that's left to do is fold it and put it in an envelope. And I'm just going to leave it blank inside for right now, but you could write your message inside, or if you found a fun quote to use, that would be nice for the inside. I think this is a really great card for someone who's outdoorsy. I also have some other projects in my playlist here. I'll add a Father's Day playlist that you can check out, and some other projects that might be good for Father's Day cards or paintings as a gift. So if you like this video, please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future tutorials. Have a great day!